Very good afternoon, students. In today's class, we will be discussing two topics. The first one is leveraging secondary brand associations to build brand equity. And the second topic will be about customer-based brand equity. So let's start with today's class, which is about leveraging secondary brand associations to build brand equity. Well, I would also like to inform you that in today's class, we will be having an assignment, and I've sent you a mail which has a lot of articles that you can refer to from time to time when we are discussing today's topics. Okay, so as all of us know that associations are the most important thing that any company needs to have while branding, because the associations are the ones which help the consumer to remember the brand when they are thinking of a particular product or a service category. Now obviously all of us know that brand elements are a major brand elements are very important in terms of associations, creating unique associations, but these are not enough at times, many a times. Why? Because of immense competition, immense clutter. We see so many ads, we listen to so many ads, but it's not necessary that each and every ad will be retained by our memory. So for that purpose specifically, it is very much essential that the brand has secondary associations. Why? Because this is ultimately going to be helpful to create or have a strong brand equity. Now in this slide, we have a few learning objectives which are 8 main ways to leverage secondary associations. We will go through that as and when we proceed in the slides. The process by which a brand can leverage secondary associations. Having secondary associations is not enough, but trying to ensure that the consumer is also aware of these associations and how it is going to help him or her to make a choice or a purchase decision is specifically explained to the second objective. And the third one is describe some of the key tactical issues in leveraging secondary associations from different entities. Why? Because these secondary associations may or may not be directly associated to the product or the service that is being offered in the market, and that makes it much more critical, because of which a specific set of entities has to be transferred to these associations. So let's start with the 8 ways in which secondary associations can be created. The first and the most important thing is companies through branding strategies. We have so many companies. We have Samsung, Yahoo, Google, Uber, and like Amazon. These are all so well established brands that any product that comes out of these companies is going to have a strong association with the parent company. Godrej, we can talk about Indian companies also. We can talk about brands like Tata, we can talk about brands like Godrej, which have very favorable associations in the minds of the customer. So if Tata grows into a different vertical or it diversifies into a different market, I am sure just because of the name Tata, each and every consumer will have a very strong brand association. So this is how company's name can be used as a brand strategy. Like how Uber did try to come out with Uber Foods, but it was not very successful in India. So these are the examples of companies through branding strategies. The second point is countries or other geographic areas through identification of product origin. When I talk about perfume, which country comes to your mind? Obviously France, because France is known for perfumes. When I talk about fashion, does the name of Paris pop up in your mind? It should, because Paris is very well known for its fashion, very well known for fashion. When I talk about let's say watches, when I talk about watches, so can we think about like German watches or Switzerland watches? Switzerland is also known for chocolates. So these are a few things which help us in creating a strong brand association. Let's say coconut. When we talk about coconut, Kerala is the first name that pops up in your mind. Why? Because Kerala is known for its coconut trees, for its natural coconut trees. When we talk about fish, like when we say uh, fresh fish, obviously Bengal, because Bengals and Bengalis are as such associated with fish. When you talk about rice, obviously South India. So these are a few ways in which countries or geographic areas can be associated with the product. The next one is channels of distribution. Channels of distribution are mainly through channel strategy. Well, we do know that Amul has a wonderful channel strategy. Their channel strategy is so good to such an extent that Amul products are available in each and every nook and corner of India. Similarly, IKEA is also known for its excellent channel strategy. It sells online, it sells offline, but wherever it sells through, it has an excellent channel strategy, because of which IKEA products, specifically in the Western countries, IKEA products are available anywhere and everywhere, online as well as offline. So these are a few examples of channels of distribution. That is, companies or brands which are specifically known for channels of distribution. We can also talk about brand Parle-G, because Parle-G is also very popular for its distribution. Wherever you go, you end up seeing a Parle-G biscuit, because there is no shop which does not stock Parle-G biscuit, and that is thanks to the channel strategy, strong channel strategy of Parle-G brand. Similarly, Bisleri is also one such brand. The next one is co-branding. Now, co-branding is a very, you could say it's a very strategic way of creating a strong association. I think the first example that comes to my mind when I talk about co-branding is Intel Inside. Okay, so whenever you open any laptop, you must have certainly seen there's a mark on the corner of the laptop which says Intel Inside. It might be a Dell PC, it might be a PC of HP, it might be any other branded PC, but just the word Intel Inside creates a very strong co-branding, right? Any other examples that you could think of for co-branding? Okay, one more example could be about Apple iPhones co-branded with Airtel. Nowadays you must have seen the advertisements, right? And then Nike again co-branded with Apple to specifically create a shoe which had iTunes included in it, and whenever a person used to wear the shoe and jog or run, he could also listen to the music of iTunes. There was some sort of branding created with it. Well, so these are a few examples of co-branding. Now, your first assignment for this class is you have to find out 3 examples of international co-branding and 3 examples of Indian co-branding. One more example that we could discuss is Dairy Milk and Oreo. So, you must have seen Dairy Milk in Oreo chocolate flavors. That is also an example of co-branding, right? Okay, after co-branding comes characters. So, there are so many characters that we see through licensing. When we talk about characters, just give me a minute please. Yes. So, when you talk about characters through licensing, the first example that comes to my mind is Marvel. Marvel licensing. You must have seen so many accessories, you must have seen so many merchandise based on characters. So, whenever there is any popular character, okay, so through licensing, the brands take a license for that, and through that they start selling their merchandise. Even one such example is for Disney. Disney has very strong characters, and because of licensing rights that they give to other parties, third parties, the third parties are able to sell the products of Disney. It can be, it can be bags, it can be accessories, it can be anything, it can be apparels, it can be designer wear of Disney's, it can be makeup offered by Disney's, it can be anything. So, this is how licensing is done through characters. Again, I'm sure you must have seen so many shirts having Sheldon Cooper t-shirts of Big Bang Theory, or for that matter Mickey Mouse t-shirts available in the market and things like that. So these are again a few examples of characters through licensing. After that comes spokesperson. Now when we talk about spokesperson, these are specifically people who who speak for the brand, who endorse the brands. Spokesperson can be anyone. They can be celebrities, they can be experts, they can be people who have expertise in their area, and that's why they are selected as spokesperson for that particular product. Apart from that, like we could take the example of Sanjeev Kapoor or Vikas Khanna for spokesperson of anything that is related to cooking or utensils or anything, right? So we can take that as an example of spokesperson. Just a minute, I'll find out a few more examples so that you have more clarity about it. Well, we could also talk about influencer branding nowadays. Okay, so there are specific influencers who have a lot of influence, and they have a lot of millions of followers. So they also can become a spokesperson for a particular brand. Apart from that, one second. Yeah, as I told you, celebrities can also be spokesperson, and apart from that, sports personalities can also be examples of spokesperson. Okay, next comes events. Events, as all of us know, events are something which are very important strategic tools, or strategic platforms through which secondary brand association can be done. Well, the first name that comes to my mind is Manikchand Filmfare Awards. So whenever I think about Filmfare Awards, Manikchand is the first thing that comes by, because Manikchand is a very high, Manikchand brand spends a lot of money for sponsoring such Filmfare Awards. Similarly, you must have seen brands like Pepsi, Coca-Cola also sponsoring specifically cricket matches and IPLs and things like that. So event is also one such way through which we can create a secondary brand association. And last but not the least is the other third party sources. So how many times have you gone to a eating joint, and you must have seen Amitabh Bachchan's photo saying that, with Just Dial and one second, just a minute please. Yeah, so Just Dial sticker which is there, and it is given 3 stars or 4 stars based on their review. So Amitabh Bachchan was the brand ambassador for Just Dial, and you could see many such pictures of him being posted. So basically, third party sources are also a major way in which you can create secondary associations. 1 minute. Let me give you a few more examples for that. Sorry. Yeah, one more way by which secondary brand associations can be created by is through awards or reviews. Okay, so you must have seen many a times that reviews are given to a particular brand, and that becomes a part of secondary association. Or for that matter, like celebrities coming and eating in a particular joint which is very popular. okay, like Vaishali one being one in Pune. So you must have seen whenever you enter Vaishali, you'll be able to see a lot of pictures wherein celebrities are coming and eating food. So that is also a third party source wherein, you know, which exemplifies the fact that this place is good and celebrities have been here to come and eat the food. So there is one such way by which you could create a brand association. So these are a few examples of brand associations. Now, as we proceed further, I am going to give you a second assignment, which is the different means that can leverage secondary brand associations. So there are 8 points that are mentioned over here. You need to come out with an example each for all of these 8 points. Okay. So you have to write an example of companies through branding strategy, also justify that why do you think that this particular company is you know as used as a secondary association, and country, channel of distribution, co-branding, characters, spokesperson, events, and other third party resources. So this is your second assessment for the day. Just a minute, please. Yeah, now I was just scrolling and I found out some information related to third party sources, which will give you much better clarity. So you must, I'm sure you must have heard about Men's Health and other books which are popular, which are specifically read by men. So obviously, if a particular celebrity endorses or, you know, says that this book is very good and it has a lot of information, that is also an example of third party sources. Okay, now as we proceed to a second objective, which is different means that can leverage the secondary brand association. So we have already discussed that. Just to summarize it, as you can see, apart from what we discussed, it can also be done in the form of alliances, joint alliances. It can be done through employees, because people are the most powerful way in which branding can be done, and we have discussed many a times through holistic marketing concept. And yeah, so it has been simplified for you. So the leverage of secondary association can be done through other brands, which are alliances, ingredients, company, and extensions, brand extensions, that will be learning in the further units. Then comes people. People are specifically employees and endorsers, celebrity endorsers, or, you know, advertisements that you create with the help of endorsers. And places that we discuss is about country of origin and channels of distribution. And last is things which are related to events, costs, marketing, if you remember we had discussed that, and third party endorsement. So this is how we can summarize it. So if you asked a question on you know, like the ways and means by which secondary brand association can be leveraged, so this is how you start writing your answer. You draw this diagram, you write down the 8 points, and you explain each and every point. Okay, so as we go further, I will not be discussing this in detail, because there is a lot of detail given in the PPT itself. So the first point is conceptualizing the leveraging process. So how do you come out with the leveraging process? Leveraging is, you know, basically where you add more intensity, or, you know, ensure that whatever you do is acting in a positive way for your brand. So the first way is linking the brand to some other entity. So that is create a new set of associations from the brand to the entity. HRX. What does HRX? Obviously, we all know that HRX belongs to Hrithik Roshan. So what happens is we specifically, you know, transfer the traits of Hrithik Roshan to brand HRX. So that is one way and means of which this can be done. Affecting the existing brand associations. When a brand is identified as linked to that entity, consumers may infer that some of the particular associations judgments or feelings that characterize the entity may also characterize the brand. Okay. So, when we talk about Hrithik Roshan, what comes to your mind? Fitness, Greek god-like looks, and like obviously very popular for the movies that he has done. So, HRX is one such brand that wants to use the trait of fitness being associated with it. So, these are the traits that can be transferred to the brand itself. The second one is creation of new brand associations. We do have a few associations which are already inbuilt, but we also need to create a few new brand associations. So, secondary brand associations are most likely to affect evaluations of a new product. When consumers lack either the motivation or the ability to judge product related concerns. So, this is one way by which the secondary brand associations can be useful. There are so many products that we see on a daily basis, but it is not that we are always motivated enough to find out the the product related concerns or how is the product going to be useful to us. So, in this such case associations are very, very useful. Let us see, let us talk about, take the example of Oven Story Pizza, if I am not mistaken, that is what it is called as. So, when we talk about this brand, obviously Domino's had a very dominant market in India, but as of now there are so many new brands popping up in the market. As of now many new brands are popping up in the market. One second. Yeah, sorry for that. So, as I was telling you, there are so many brands that are coming up in the market which taste much better than Domino's and which are reasonably priced as compared to Domino's. So, it can be highlighted in any way. It can be the cheese that is used, the base that is used, the healthy base that is used for consuming the pizza. So, this is how a new brand association can be created. Okay. Apart from that, Domino's also did this very successfully in its popular days. It is popular now also, it is not that it is not popular nowadays. So, Domino's came out with a concept where they said that pizza is not only for occasions, pizza can be eaten whenever you want to. It is not that it's just because there is a birthday or there is a something unusual, some good occasion on which you can order a pizza and eat. But nowadays pizza has become so common that we order it and eat it whenever we want to. I am sure you must have seen the ad of Domino's Pizza where a girl has a breakup, and to celebrate the breakup they have a pizza. Okay. Now, what you can do is you can go through the points which are related to effects on existing brand knowledge. These are very easy to understand, you can quickly read it, and if you have any doubts you can come back to me, that is you can either WhatsApp me or mail it to me, and accordingly I will answer your questions. But still, if you want to have a quick look, effects on existing brand knowledge, awareness and knowledge of the entity. If consumers have no awareness or knowledge of the secondary entity, there is nothing they can transfer from it. Yeah. So, this again relates to the positioning factor. When a brand was positioned in a particular way, okay, it has to ensure that enough awareness is created in the minds of the customers. If there is no awareness created, then obviously there is going to be nothing happening even if you try to create secondary associations. We can take the example of Vicco. Okay. When brand Vicco was launched in the Indian market, Vicco tried to come out with such a strong positioning, and you must have also seen the Alia Bhatt ads nowadays, which is related to Vicco Vajradanti. So, Vicco was basically known as turmeric, nahi cosmetic, Vicco turmeric Ayurvedic cream, right? And Vicco Vajradanti paste is also one very popular taste. So, in the beginning itself they tried to create a positioning saying that it is natural, the ingredients are used are very much natural and they are good for you, it has no artificial chemicals in it. Patanjali also did the same thing. So, it is very essential that a good amount of awareness is created in the minds of the consumers when you describe the product or position the product in the market. Why? Because it will be ultimately helpful to the brand in the future. How will it be helpful? Consumers become aware. So, whenever they want to buy a cosmetic cream, the first thing that comes to your mind is it should not have chemicals, harsh chemicals that will ruin our skin. So, obviously Vicco did that. Vicco said Vicco turmeric nahi cosmetic. So, it is a healthy cream, it is a Ayurvedic cream, at the same time it is also a cosmetic cream. hold some strong, favorable and perhaps even unique associations about it. So, as I said, we have already discussed about brand elements. It can be a slogan, it can be a jingle, it can be a tagline, it can be anything. Now, when I talk about Vicco, the color yellow plays a very dominant role when I try to think about the product and the smell of Vicco turmeric cream. I don't know if you have smelled it, but it also again has a very strong association. Like how you are already aware that what is the smell that you are going to get when you open the lid of a Vicks Vapor Up. So, that is again one strong association that you have, which leads to positive judgments and feelings. Second is meaningfulness of the knowledge of the entity. Obviously, you have created some positive association, but this also needs to have a proper meaning associated with it, right? On the basis of which you can judge the product, have feelings for the product. Meaningfulness is very, very essential. Like we have discussed so many times in the class that Amul Macho, Bade Aram se, does it have any meaning? It does. It says that how easy it is to wear, how soft it is to wear, specific product attributes that are associated with the brand. But then there are so many other ads also which are totally meaningless. I don't know if you have seen the new ad of gems, not new ad, but it's an ad which I saw recently, like wherein a person is dressed as a hen and there's this person who is throwing gems at the hens. So, looking at this big hen, he is surprised for a minute and then still he continues throwing. So, there is no meaning as such associated with it. So, it is very much essential that meaning is strong, having a strong meaning. Okay, we can take the example of Kotak. So, Kotak roped in Ranveer Singh and they tried to come out with new ad campaigns which mention that Kotak is for the Indians. You just need to be an Indian citizen to have a avail the facility of 811 account of Kotak. So, this is how meaning needs to be associated with each and every brand that you are endorsing. And third is transferability of the knowledge of the entity. Let us take the example of Patanjali again. Okay. Now, when we are talking about Patanjali, the first name that comes in our mind is Ramdev Baba. Obviously, Ramdev Baba was known for he was a yogi, he was known for his yoga and for the healthy tips and suggestions that he used to give. So, Patanjali used Ramdev Baba in a very positive manner, because of which they could literally create a good market for many of the products. So, that is the transferability factor of the knowledge of the entity, because many people strongly believe that Patanjali yoga practiced by Ramdev Baba is good and it has good effects also on the body. So, this is the way in which they try to capture the Indian market. And obviously, all of you know that how crazy Westerners are specifically about yoga and Indian practices. And thanks to coronavirus, they are also aware that instead of handshake, we must always do namaste to each other. So, these are a few things, specific things that transfer the knowledge of the entity to the actual product or service. Okay, so you can refer to figure 7.2, that is understanding transfer of brand knowledge. As you can see, transfer is done by the brand itself and transfer is done by the other entity. When you are talking about brand, awareness, attributes, benefits, images, thoughts, feelings, attitudes, experience, each and everything needs to be associated with the brand, that is very much directly associated. And we talk about other entity, all the things that are related to the brand also must be related to the other entity, so that we can transfer it to the brand. Okay. So, well, we can also talk about Sachin Tendulkar endorsing mutual funds nowadays. You must have seen the advertisement. So, Sachin says that even if it is cricket or mutual funds, you actually need to take the risk. Why? Because Sachin has such Sachin is able to transfer his attributes to the advertisement, because Sachin was a reliable player. He used to give, I am sure, he has been able to give victory to India in many matches. So, this is one particular positive thing that is associated with Sachin, which can be transferred to the brand that he is endorsing. JP Cement that Sachin Tendulkar used to endorse, right? And Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, multiple products that he is endorsing, which specifically are successful just because of the attributes of Mr. Bachchan being transferred to the product. One such example being Raymond's, okay, the grace, the sophistication, the you know, the like, well, I don't have words to describe it. So when you talk about Raymond's, the first thing that befitting image that comes to your mind is Mr. Bachchan. We cannot think about Shatrughan Sinha, or we cannot think about Dharmendra, but the first name that comes to a brand name when we talk about Raymond's is obviously Amitabh Bachchan. He suits the brand, you know, the brand, it seems as if the brand is made for him specifically, and that is communicated to the customers through their advertisements. Okay. So, if you refer to the further slides, it has the 8 points that we discussed in the beginning. So, you can refer to it when you are writing down the assignment, and you can mail it to me. If you have any doubts, please feel free to WhatsApp me or mail me. Thank you. So, after a break of 5 minutes, I will be starting with the second unit, which is customer based brand equity.